There really are a lot of challenges with clinical trials in dementia. The traditional model for a clinical trial is to look at survival, and survival takes many years, and that's not really appropriate. It's going to cost the community so much money to do survival trials. So we really need to come up with bespoke outcome measures for each of these conditions, and biomarker discovery is the critical part. So for instance, are there blood biomarkers that we can follow? For instance, can we look at tau or TDP-43 in the blood of patients and see that there's an effect of the new medication? The problem with clinical trials currently is we use the one-size-fits-all model. So basically we just get every patient who has a specific diagnosis and treat them with the same medication, but they're not the same. And in fact we're seeing now this is a heterogeneous group of conditions, but also the same condition affects people in different ways. So we really need to try and have a biomarker that can make the patient group more homogeneous in the beginning. Ideally, we have the same group of patients getting the same medication, and that's really been developed in cancer, where outcomes are so much better, and I think that's where we need to be moving. Separately, we don't really have good imaging biomarkers for these conditions. Obviously we know that there's atrophy or shrinkage of the brain, but we haven't really come up with looking at specific territories of the brain very well, or network function. Separately, neurophysiological markers. So can we look at something that gives an idea of function of the brain and try and treat against that? Clearly, with some of the original trials that are underway with amyloid therapies and monoclonal antibodies, we're seeing there's being a biological effect, so that the amyloid volume in the brain is being reduced, but patients aren't improving. They might stay the same, but typically they're going to deteriorate, but they deteriorate at a slower rate than you would expect. But we really don't seem to have a good match between amyloid therapy outcomes and then cognition, which is really the keystone of patients with dementia. Also other quality of life tools and patient-reported outcome measures. These are the things that the patient wants addressed, and so it's up to us as a community to work together. Separately, we put a lot of emphasis into industry sponsorship and government grants, but really these groups aren't working coherently together. So industry, government bodies and patient-led bodies such as amyloid, such as the Dementia Association, etc., working together, having all the key stakeholders invested in the outcome of these trials.